Hey guys, Dylan Tommy here. We're in the green room and I'm going to cruise the tanks tonight. We'll update a couple of things and kind of do a year in review. It's kind of hard to touch on all the things that kind of take place in the fish room this year because there's just been so many changes. I moved out a lot of my 10 gallons and consolidated some things. Both the Danio and the Crevensis tank produced fry for me. I moved out a lot of my red cherry shrimp and just a lot of changes in the fish room. So I want to cruise each tank and we'll take a good look at each and every one and hopefully touch on some of the changes. This tank here with the Madagascar lace plant has always been a plant housing tank. I've always just thrown extra plants in there and let it kind of grow out as a jungle. And it's still housing red cherry shrimp. They do very well in this tank, feeding on all the debris and every bit of algae that never ends up in a tank that's so packed full of plants. But these are the last two 10s that I have left as thriving biotopes. The only thing left in this tank here is a Chinese algae eater, and he's really cool. He's a super active fish. He's always swimming up and down the glass and kind of digging in the holes, and he's always cruising around. So this tank, you always see some kind of movement. The 55 gallon here has probably seen the most changes in 2014. It started off the year as a Rotala tank. I mean, I had lush stems of Rotala that grew straight up to the surface, and now, since this mother Amazon sword has decided to put about 5 or 6 of these long runners off this year, I've had so many young progeny just to kind of plant throughout the tank, and some of them I've let kind of root themselves here in the substrate, and the tank's kind of morphed into a completely different tank, particularly with adding all these crypts down here and some of the baby tiers that were allowed to kind of carpet and root out there. You can see some of the Rotala still left in the tank. I left several stems here in the back, but most of the addition was the Ludwigia here on this side, and I've been trying to get that to grow out throughout the last 6-7 months here. This tank, if you remember guys, was the red cherry shrimp colony. This tank was just loaded with red cherry shrimp. I must have had hundreds of them in here, but spread them out, and this tank has just become a holding tank for one fish. And it was a fish I've always wanted to keep. I actually wanted to keep them in pairs, but we just have a female right here, a little jewel cichlid, and I think I showed you guys her in the past. She's looking really good. She's anxious about the camera, but she's in here alone. And of course the guppy tank, we moved it out from underneath and put it up here in the corner, and I like it so much better now that it's here at eyeline. And tons of Rotala. I did want to keep a tank that just had a lot of lush stems of Rotala, kind of like the 55 was. So that's kind of how the guppy tank ended up, with these stems of Rotala. But I also wanted to keep some of this moss in the tank. Being live bearing fish and having small young fry, it's good to keep some kind of dense vegetation for those younger fish to kind of breed in and be in and live in, and feed off all the debris that gets caught in a plant like that. But I told you guys I've had a blast with this guppy tank. I mean, 2 fish into, I don't know, we're looking at about 30 now. I've never counted them. I've never tried. But a lot of females. So I expect it to continue to grow. And there's Big Mama. There's both the parents right there. That's great to see them together. They started it all, these two. And here's my Superman. He's become the most prettiest male. I told you about him. He's great. come down here to the crebensis tank because they've been doing great. The 8 young fry have grown into healthy young fish. I'll take a good look at them here. Being albinos, they always reflect off the light. Let's see. Look at that. The reflection is just so... And there's still 8 of them in here. I often count these guys. They've just been growing up so great. I'm not sure if I did update, but the female had passed a couple weeks ago. So only the large albino male is in here, and the 8 young fry that I've just been growing out. If you guys remember way back, my first spawn was the Danio spawn, and I grew out those Danio fry, and a lot of them ended up in this tank. And this tank has really become an extra low light tank down here beneath the 55, and I kind of like it. I actually have a lot of the zebra Danios and some of the long fins in this tank, and I think they're great. It's a really cool low light tank, and a lot of these plants do very well. But these are some of the Danio fry that I had raised out. They're mature fish now. Well, that's some of the green room, guys. Like I said, lots of changes in 2014, and I wanted to touch on some things. Several different spawns as far as the crebensis and the guppy tank. Also, my most recent spawn in the Brichardi tank. Let's check them out because they've been doing just fantastic. And the female's always just so protective of her young little clan down here. Yeah, they see me come into the room and they often go right into the shells. Look at this guy, he's getting so large. I thought I'd be able to show you a whole batch of young fry, but we got this mature guy and just some smaller ones here. They're often out, some are more active than others. And we got both parents here protecting as usual. Look at Dad. He's come a long way too. He's come up from, you know, brutalizing the fish in his tank to being, you know, a protective parent. That's just, you know, great things to see in fish keeping when you see a fish change from, you know, being a brutal beast and not being able to keep anything with him to, you know, being a protective parent like this. It's fantastic. I'm so glad I hung on to this guy and kind of was very patient with him because here he is, Dad with his family. But that's the Brichardi tank, guys. That's the best update I can say for 2014 is we got a happy little Nolampurlogus Brichardi clan in here. And the best addition to 2014 was the introduction of the paludarium. Spent a lot of time in November putting this thing together, and it's growing out, having a lot of fun with it. Been working on the water feature, trying to get the flow just right so it can, you know, support the right ecological conditions and just get all this vegetation to grow out. It's in its infancy, and we're going to try to get all this lush plant growth to thrive in this tank. We shall see. Haven't added any inhabitants to the water feature yet, but it's a work in progress. And we're going to take that project right into 2015. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I appreciate all the support throughout the year, all the love. I mean, I invite you into my fish room. I'm hanging out in yours. the community here on YouTube is such a wonderful place to be. Kind, intelligent individuals, and I can feel the love. A lot of gratitude and respect for each and every one of you. I'd really like to send a personal shout out to all my subscribers and everybody who's commented on my videos throughout the year, and all the videos that I've watched and all the friendships I've made. I mean, really doing positive things in this community, guys, and I appreciate it. So that being said, thank you guys. Tank on.